Welcome back, everyone. It's DV in part 3 and day 3 of hardcore mode in Roblox Islands. In my last video, if you haven't seen it already, we grinded hard for an industrial smelter and also got a tier 3 workbench and steel mill. In this video, I'm going to be setting up that smelter and the steel mill, so we're going to be able to auto AFK steel, as well as working on grinding for a gilded steel hammer, because I may need that for some later grinding, especially when I hit the scorps in Desert Island and when I need to kill the wizard lizards. I need that hammer. So I may even go after a few bonus items in this video. So if you're new to Roblox Islands hardcore mode, you can check out part 1 and part 2. I've linked both of those videos. Hardcore mode basically removes any help from other players and also removes all trading. So you're basically playing 100% solo, which makes the game really hard, but also removes the broken economy aspects caused by dupers, which is a huge bummer. In fact, I don't know why, but I just can't play the regular game anymore. I love this mode. I feel like I'm finally playing Islands again. So let's get started, but before I do, please hit that like button to help this video get seen by old Islands players, and they might even come back to try this mode out. And also subscribe if you're new to the channel. So the first thing I need to get done is hooking up this smelter to the steel mill so that I can start auto farming steel. The problem is I need a ton of steel to make steel rods so I can make conveyors and industrial chests that we need, so that I can just ignore this equipment and pop by whenever I need the steel, you know, so I don't have to keep just sitting here and micromanaging it. So once I had enough steel ingots, I was able to put the industrial chest down, and I no longer needed to keep picking up the ingots off the floor so they wouldn't despawn, and I could just focus on adding iron and coal to the steel mill, because it was really hard because I had to keep, like, you know, feeding in coal and steel, and so you're constantly hitting F to open up the dialogue to feed it, and then you have to like close it, pick up the steel that's on the floor, and now we don't have to do that. And when I make this extra conveyor, I can hook up a coal totem to it, and all we need to do is just pretty much auto click the iron from my inventory into the steel mill, and I could pretty much use an auto clicker for that if I wanted to. Then I can just walk away and then come back when it's full. Now I kept running out of iron, of course, and coal, so I had to set up some totems so that I could easily collect from them, because I kept getting, you know, low on iron, and I didn't want to have to keep going back out to the hub to farm more iron. So I just got a totem, set it up, and you could just collect from that. So I finally had enough steel to make the conveyor, and then I moved the steel mill out of the way and started getting ready for making another conveyor, because eventually we're going to hook up the smelter to this. Now once that happens, I don't have to touch this thing ever again until I'm ready to take the steel out. That's super nice, and then I could just check on it whenever I wanted to. You can actually also, what I was doing was I had a little extra iron from the smelter that ends up sitting in front of the steel mill, and you could just collect that whenever you want if you need some iron. That way you don't actually have to like worry about having 2 smelters later if you want to farm iron and steel. You just, you know, pull out the iron that's just waiting there, because the steel mill is so slow, you actually overfeed it with iron, and so you're gonna have a ton of iron stacked up behind waiting for that steel mill to accept it. So you can just pretty much pull the iron out of there whenever you need it. So the entire process of hooking this thing up took about an hour, and maybe I think it was like an hour and 15 minutes, and that was because I was, you know, outside of the game a lot. I was only checking on it every once in a while, and I wasn't really micromanaging the iron that I should have. So you could probably take you about maybe 30 to 45 minutes to do this. So after the smelter was up and running, I was able to relax a bit and started focusing on getting an auto farm for my crops, since I was just getting tired of collecting from them. So the downside, if we're setting up an auto farm with conveyors, it basically means you're going to end up with a bunch of oily crops. So for now, we're just going to end up having to deal with the oily crops and take 50% less coins when we sell them, so that I can pretty much just focus on grinding other aspects of my island, because the only positive is that wheat can't get oily. But, you know, the fact is I'm going to be able to spend a lot of time elsewhere on my island. So this is still saving me a bunch of time, and I'm still, you know, able to farm and not lose stuff. So in the end, it's not really a huge reduction of coins, but it is if I were really focusing on it. So I had to grind some more steel for making conveyors, and I also needed another industrial chest for the classic auto farm design that I'm making. That just makes it getting something up there fast. So I didn't really want to do like a really fancy auto farm. I just basically went with the classic design, which is pretty much a bunch of plus signs layered. I'll eventually move it into a stairs design once I have more totems and chests to justify doing it, but this design works out just fine. So this auto farm design is super simple. If you haven't seen it before, it's I'd be surprised, but I'll explain it for you real quick. So basically you have a single block in the center that's cut out that you're pretty much going to drop all your crops through. So that's basically the center of your farm. At the bottom, you're going to have a single conveyor that feeds into an industrial chest. And I did use a few glass blocks so I could see the crops that are dropping into it, but you can just fill that in with, you know, dirt or grass if you wanted to. And then above, you're going to obviously have 4 conveyors, 4 totems, and you're pretty much designing a plus sign. And then you're going to add layers above that. And then you're just pretty much going to make a plus sign. It's real simple. So the totems themselves, so like the carrot totems here, they can reach crops up to 3 blocks away, but they can only harvest so many in a full cycle. So you don't need that many seeds, and you really don't need to do all the way out to 3 blocks away. I think 2 blocks is plenty. And over time, I'm going to continue to add, you know, layers on this tower. So I can just auto AFK from the chest. Now, you don't have to have just carrot seeds here. You can also use, potatoes, you can use wheat, you can use, tomatoes, you can use whatever you want here. I actually mix and match it. So you're going to see that I've got a mix of things here. I've got wheat and potatoes above as well. And eventually I'm going to switch everything over to onions, which is obviously going to give us the most money, but they are really expensive to set up. So for now, we're going to just focus on carrots, and eventually we're going to move all the way over to onions once we can afford it. So next on my list was to get a better weapon, since long term we're going to need it. So I decided to grind for a gilded steel hammer. This meant I need to kill a ton of buffalo core with my iron axe. So the iron axe isn't very powerful, so it's going to take a while to kill. And just to make sure we have health, I brought along a ton of honeycomb that I've been collecting along with berries and some other food I cooked previously. So it just, give me something to heal with while I'm out there. So I don't get bored. I'd recommend having two things you're trying to make at the same time. That way you have a couple different options to what you want to grind for in case you get bored. So in my case, I wanted to make a drill in addition to the hammer, since having a drill would save me a ton of time later when I'm trying to farm a ton of gold, because I could just stack up on that gold. And then when I'm ready to start making my gilded steel pickaxe, I have a ton of gold already stocked up, and all I'd have to do is just smelt it. Now, of course, I could hook up the smelter. If I'm done with steel for a while, I could hook up the smelter directly to the gold drill and just auto smelt. But the problem is, it's just going to take a long time for that. So it's better off just sticking with the steel. So in order to make a drill, I do require crystallized iron. So in order to be able to make that, of course, I need to be able to farm iron ore. So what I did was I set up a small little iron ore farm. And the problem is that I only had a handful of iron totems, which makes this a really, really slow auto farm. So instead of autoing it, I just decided to take out the block under it. So I put a glass block under where the iron would actually spawn, and I just kept picking that out every now and then, replacing it. And eventually I would get that cry iron that I needed. And of course I did eventually. But being me, having a third item I'm grinding for is a lot more fun. So I decided to also grind for a washing station so that I can clean my crops. This requires a bit of maple, so I decided I would just start chopping, a maple tree down every once in a while so I can stock up on that. That way it's just a little easier to make later. Now, if you're following along with this hardcore mode with me, definitely use an auto clicker when you can to let your chests fill up, because if you're only in your island a bit and then you jump out, then you're not really giving your auto farms enough time to really fill up chests to make it worthwhile. And it just saves you so much time if you're just, you can pretty much AFK. Like even if you don't have an auto clicker and you could just like leave your computer on or your mobile device on for 20 minutes until it times out, then that still works too, or you can even like auto jump or have someone like tap the jump button for you if you're on mobile every once in a while, or just hold down. You can even hold down something onto your space bar or something. That might help a bit, but you definitely want to give your chest some time to fill up. So in order to be able to make that gilded steel hammer, of course, I needed a buffalo core crystal. And so it took me a few hours of killing buffalo core to finally get it. But it could take you up to just a minute or two if you're lucky, because in one of my videos, in one of my Noob to Pro videos, the first buffalo core that I killed actually dropped me that buffalo core crystal. So, unlike pink slimes, you only need one in order to make a hammer. Luck is really in your favor. If you get really lucky, then you might, be able to make your hammer way quicker than I did. Again, it took me about, I think it was like 2 hours. I think I killed around 300 buffalo core to give you an idea before I got mine. So plan on sitting back and killing these for a long time. I pretty much just watched like a movie and a half, I think. The great thing about killing buffalo core though is, of course, they drop gold, and I think it's like 50% chance of them, dropping a gold ore for you. So after getting the buffalo core crystal, I was able to smelt that gold and make the hammer. So after a few more hits on my iron ore, I was lucky to get another crystallized iron to be able to make my gold drill. And I just needed to get a few more steel rods to finish it, and already had plenty of blue sticky gears from grinding for my smelter. So I made the drill and set it up over onto the gold ore. And the nice thing is, if I ever need copper, I could just pretty much take this drill down and switch it over to copper. So I could actually technically, after I'm done pretty soon, I could actually start making, if I got a bronze refinery or made one of those, I could technically start making, my own rage blades at some point. Of course, I need to go regrind for a rage blade blueprint for that to be worthwhile. So I eventually decided to move my smelter over to my drill as well, so I could just pretty much just hang out in that area. And technically, if I used a macro, I could pretty much auto AFK both of them, or I could actually have them both dump into the same industrial chest, which actually would be easier if I wanted to auto AFK this. So I could have the gold ore drop into the same chest, and same for the steel, I could have it, drop into the same industrial chest if I really wanted to. In this case right now, I'm planning on doing a lot more on my island, so I don't really want to just be sitting there auto AFKing, so I do need that extra space inside the industrial chest. So I just pretty much set got 2 of those over there. So I had a lot of success in this day 3. You know, again, I set out to get, you know, just a gilded steel hammer, and I set out to make an auto farm, and I did all of that. Plus I got a drill. So things are going along pretty quickly for me here. In the next video, I plan on making a gilded steel pickaxe, which isn't going to be hard because I don't really have to have anything rare for that. That's just gold, and it's super easy to get gold. And then I do need a washing station for the crops. So, you know, that is going to be a little bit harder because I do need to go fish for a while, because I do need 3 pearls. So it's probably going to take me a couple hours to get those 3 pearls. And then, or if I get a propeller, then I'll just move up to an industrial, because that would be even nicer, because I could pretty much just set that up and auto it. But propellers are a lot harder to get than pearls, but we're talking about having to get 3 pearls. So I might actually get lucky with the propeller. And then my next goal here after these 2 things is to set up my coin tower. So I'm pretty much going to work on an auto farm that is really going to help me make millions of coins each night. So I'm hoping I can set that up, you know, within the next 2 to 3 days. Ideally, I'd like to do it before the next game update. But pretty much where I'm focusing now is getting this money machine set up. And then also I'm going to be setting up an auto coal farm for my new base, because I do need a lot of coal for my black blocks, because I'm going to rebuild my old base. And of course, that means also I'm going to need lots of red glass and all this other stuff. And of course, I've got a ton of flowers that are spawning on my island. So I don't think that's going to be such an issue, because I'm getting so many flowers. So this has been a ton of fun to do this. I'm still excited. So I actually get excited finally. Again, I'm finally excited to load up islands and start, you know, grinding again. It just feels so nice knowing that I've earned everything that I have on my island. And then the great thing is there's zero duped items in my economy in this game. You know, in my VIP server, there's 0 duped items. So speaking of, it was so awesome to see many of you are actually joining me on this journey. I hope you're having fun too. Please share your progress in the comments below, and, you know, hit that like button if you want to see the economy get fixed, because I really do. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.